And we thank you for those that are able to be here. We ask that you be with those that are not able to be here and those that are sick in our community. Lord, we just ask for your healing and your blessing and be with each one of us as we make decisions for the city. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Item 1, we're going to put on, we're going to skip item 1 for now for the Mr. Stoker's running late. We're going to move on to item 2, consider annual award of bid for crack sealing compound material.
Good evening, Council and Mr. Mayor. This agenda item is for a 5-year agreement to purchase crack seal material for the street department. What the street department does is before a road is either seal coated or friction seal applied, they will go in and fill cracks on the street. So it's an emulsion that's put down. This was put out for bid, advertised in the newspaper, and sent out to 6 vendors. And we received just one bid from Craftco Inc. out of Arizona. Their price that they proposed was .5757, which is about a 29% increase in pricing. So our annual cost for this material will go up from $61,000 to $82,000, and the street department is aware of this, and they will have to work that into their budget. Again, this is a 5-year agreement, and this is enough material to help with the seal coat and friction seal coat process of about 16 miles of filling cracks. Have I answered any questions?
Philip, are we in year 1 of 5-year agreement?
Yes, sir. This would be the first year of this agreement. Yes, sir.
Council, any questions, comments?
This was you said you only had one bid?
Oh, correct. Yes, ma'am. Only one bidder. Yes, ma'am.
Does the 5-year agreement have any guarantee on the price?
No, sir. So every year we will have to go back and negotiate the price. We do have the option next year if prices do come back and we see an increase, we can go back out for bid for it, or we can negotiate hopefully a lower price or at least the same price next year with the vendor.
No, so we're not married to it.
No, sir. No, sir.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, sir. Thank you. We're going to go back to item 1. We're going to have a report by Craig Stoker for tax increment reinvestment zone.
1 minute.
I know.
I mean, y'all run a tight ship around these work sessions.
Buddy. Stop till Tuesday.
Well, thank you for having me, and going to give a little update on what the TERS board has been working on. We are planning in our next couple of meetings to revisit our project and finance plan, something that has become apparent. Just like a lot of other departments, our income was not quite what we thought it was going to be, thanks to the last couple of years of kind of a slow development downtown. So we are going to revisit our project and finance plan that's going to help us move forward with what we've been doing with the master plan. We did work with Kimley Horn on that. We have, I believe, our final edit almost ready to go that we'll take our final look at and then have something to present to council for approval. We are looking at some of the projects. One of the things that's in my notes, a lighting plan. We're going to look at some of the lighting downtown to take a look at. I know we've had some discussion about revitalizing the parking lots at 4th and Grant to do some improvements to those, make them look a little better. I think in the last meeting, the last times those have been touched was in the 80s.
Only late 90s.
Late 90s.
We've done some recent
Okay.
lighting upgrades, but that's been accepted.
So to continue with that, and one of the projects we did approve that will help with some landscaping downtown, the TERS board did purchase 12 of the flower pots that you see kind of around the downtown area that we are going to be working with the city and Parks Department to have those planted and looking nice. We're going to create some entry points into downtown at 2nd and 8th and really use those as kind of as gateways into the downtown. And they will, again, if you noticed any of them this past summer, they were all very nice. I got so many compliments on them that I forwarded to Steve that did such a great job on that. But next up will be that master plan, what we get back from Kimley Horn. We have seen the first draft of it. We sent them back with a fair amount of edits to what we were doing with that. When Michael and I spoke Friday, I guess we were expecting it back this week as the final draft, so the TERS will take that up hopefully soon and have something to give to you guys. We are planning on having an event surrounding its debut. We want to partner with Odessa Arts to perhaps do a concert in conjunction with the plan, have something at the Ector Theater. Those are kind of the preliminary discussions we're having now, and we're hoping to have that sometime in the late February to have that to present to the city. So after it is approved by council, to be able to have really build some excitement and buzz around what's going on next and what we hope we can accomplish.
Council questions, comments?
Craig, how many new business remodels you got going on down there now?
So I know there's 3 that are in the works. Well, no, there's more than that. With the facade grants.
Yeah, there's about 4 or 5 facade ones that are working through the city's program,
Right.
but there's a number of private individuals that are also working on projects.
I've seen a bunch. I didn't know how many new businesses that involved. I was just curious.
Yeah, there are 3 that I'm aware of, the 4th being Nurses Unlimited.
Yes.
And I don't know quite where they are in that process. That's
Okay.
kind of outside of what we are tasked with.
I
So,
just saw a lot of activity, so
yeah.
thanks.
Anybody else have a question? Craig, I have a few questions. On the project finance plan, so it's been for the last 2 years, we've seen about 100,000 annually going in.
I want to say about 130.
About 130 roughly, Mayor.
Where are we at right now? Are we lagging behind, or were you expecting?
The expectation was to be bringing in, I think, around 230.
Actually, a little higher than that.
A little higher than
Closer to
that?
300,000.
Okay.
When we first developed the plan there, it would have been prior, obviously, with COVID, it would
Yeah.
be 2019. The projections had it a much faster trajectory in growth, and that obviously didn't occur. So part of what they'll do is go back and revisit all of those numbers.
Okay, so are we anticipating, so basically when y'all calculate 230 as a projection based on continuing value increases? that just
Value
didn't occur?
increases and a percent of increasing overall growth. Yes, sir.
And so basically, we didn't see those increases as far as evaluations, and then we didn't have the growth because everything was stagnated going
Yes, sir.
down. Okay, so what did it? Just ask that question, that's what you guys were looking at. All right, anything else?
Not that I think of.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
presentation.
Thanks, Craig.
I will not be 1 minute late again.
We're going to move to item 3, consider approving the purchase of an Axon officer safety plan for the OPD.
Council members, mayors.
Yes, sir.
It's unfortunate we're this early in the schedule. This is a lengthy presentation, but we have sat down with everybody in the council and the mayor about the technology the Odessa Police Department's going towards. This presentation is with Axon. You can go ahead and load it up. This is setting us up a foundation over the next decade. And actually, would it start this year? The 2022?
Correct.
So yes, the next decade. A lot of the stuff that we've already funded are body cameras, our in-car cameras, our evidence data collection, everything we're already utilizing in Axon, but this is from a 2018 purchase. We're talking about audio video equipment for the future. And then of course with our report management system, drone, community development, community participation. So this is Corporal Ian Capitz. He is well versed in this. I'm going to allow him to continue with the presentation.
Afternoon, everyone. My name's Ian. I work in our intelligence division, and I also kind of dabble in some of the technology. I believe I've had the opportunity to meet some or most of you guys as we grew up our intelligence center and some of our other technology that we've done throughout the department. So I won't drag on. I'll get started with this as we go. So Axon basically is a program that we utilize that outfits. Previously, it was known for its tasers. That's pretty much what it was synonymous for. They deployed tasers back in the 90s until 4On. They renamed themselves as Axon, and now we utilize their fleet dash cameras, their body-worn cameras. We've started utilizing some of their technology as well as that they offer. Things such as the records management systems, our internal standard software, which is for our professional standards unit or internal affairs, as other places call it. The purpose for this proposal and the reason that we're doing this, we're getting to the point of being done with our 5-year contract. It's coming up here pretty short. So we have to look at, again, like Deputy Chief Davidson said, what the plan is for the future. It takes a lot for us to stand up a records management system. Currently, we have several million records within our system currently, and those could be anything from a crash report to an officer contact to an arrest report or something in that mix of it. So it takes a lot to import that legacy data, manage it, and look for a solution that's going to be feasible for our officers. So the biggest goal for us is obviously increased efficiency. That's something that we've looked at, we've been working on. With y'all's help, we've done quite a good job with building out our Intel Center. This all goes hand in hand with that, building that foundation so that we can be set up for success and really work smarter and not harder. With this, we're able to enhance some of our workflows, partnering with other city departments such as municipal court, legal, risk management, things along those lines. So our goal isn't to have it just be a sole, single-purpose program. It's meant to be a benefit to the entire city and to everyone that interacts with the police department, which we're finding the more and more I learn is the more and more a lot of people are involved with us. It also allows us to increase our impact of our intelligence-led policing process. I know that we've talked to you guys about that, and Chief Gerke has mentioned. We have gone from the shotgun blast effect of trying to go out there and stop and apprehend anything and everything to focusing on who the prolific offenders are, those individuals that are causing the problems in our city, and we focus on those individuals so that we can make it a more safe and peaceful community. And obviously our overall goal is to lead the way in Texas in technology and best practice policing. I know that's something that Chief Gerke and Chief Davidson have really impressed upon us, is to try to be the best. I know we've developed great partnerships in doing so, and this is a part of that, to be the best and to set ourselves up for success as we move on. So just a little bit of history on Axon. Our first contract was in about 2014. That was for the purchase of tasers. And then we enhanced that again in 2018 for body-worn cameras as those started emerging. Over the last 8 years, I've had the opportunity to work with them for about 2 years pretty consistently now. Over the last 8 years, I can say personally that as a vendor, they've had amazing service, amazing support, and the equipment and everything in between has really been unmatched. It's been something that's a big push or reason that we're trying to migrate to a new vendor and to kind of go to a sole purpose, just because of that customer support and that service that we've gotten from them. It really has been amazing, and it's made our job significantly easier. Bundling this into one single contract brings it down from 5 existing contracts that encompass body-worn camera, videos, tasers, down into one single contract that we can manage. It also allows us to have one yearly expense rather than paying multiple different expenses throughout that time. And a long time, also it saves a lot of money. Axon is a growing company. They have recently rolled out their software division, so they're continuing to increase prices just like any technology company does. They can set their price on Tuesday, and it can be different on Thursday as things grow and the more clients they bring on. So allowing us to get in early and be an early adopter allows us quite a bit of savings that we'll highlight here shortly. Again, with the enhancement of the Axon offerings and the suite that they basically have, we are currently in process of migrating to our new records management system. So that was something that's a budgeted and appropriate item that we're already working towards. We expect to go live of April 2023, so we have our weekly meetings and working through that. Evidence management, not only do we manage our body-worn cameras and our things online in our cloud-based system right now, we'd be migrating our physical evidence software, which we have several thousands pieces of evidence that come in that are stored inside of our vaults here at a time. So managing that efficiently and in one system really streamlines it and makes it easy for our officers and our staff that manage that. As well as court sharing, we've been sharing cases over to the County District Attorney and Municipal Court for several years now. It's been something that's been hugely beneficial to us and allows us to share that information in a very timely manner and get those cases for prosecution and resolution extremely fast. Again, this would maintain and bolster our body cameras and our dash cameras, which our dash cameras are required by law to have based on the type of agents that we are and the population that we have and the type of enforcement action that we partake in, as well as our tasers. Another item on there is drones. We currently utilize one drone. We'll be expanding that, providing more frequent deployment of those and a multi-department use within the city. And then the final part that I'm kind of excited about as well is our community engagement. Axon partnered with a company called My90 and allows us to have a much more transparent interaction with citizens and get true feedback from them so we can make insightful decisions on how we police and partner with our community. So again, the first contract, as you can see on your screens, it was a 5-year contract. It was purchased in 2018. It was a lump sum payment of $2.6 million. That $2.6 million included tasers, body-worn cameras, and dash cameras. So that's all we're paying for. And if we continue that through, essentially we'd be doubling that for 10 years, so about $5.2 million. If we broke that up evenly in yearly expenses or yearly payment, like we're proposing, it'd be about $520,000 yearly if we divided that and had not paid it up front. In that contract, we paid it using state grants, seizure funds, so drug dealers were paying for or contributing to it, and some supplemental budget items as they were available at the time. You'll see a breakdown on the right-hand side, kind of breaks down the cost or what we paid for each individual kind of line item. Body-worn cameras or dash cameras, Cradle Points. Cradle Points basically allow us to think of like a Wi-Fi router inside your car. Allows us to get access into our network anywhere where our vehicle's at, where we have access to that. So the sensitive CGIS information or other secure information that we can't access via public Wi-Fi or other city Wi-Fi, it allows us to really restrict that down. And I know Mike Parrish is here too. I'm sure he can support some IT questions if those do come up. It also handles our interview rooms, our co-band video migration. So that was basically our legacy data. So we were importing all that video in so we can maintain that. We do have to maintain some videos related to homicide, sexual assaults, almost for the forever, essentially. A lot longer than other statute limitations. So jumping forward, the yearly ongoing costs that weren't included in the contract originally, basically taser cartridges. So for liability purposes and training purposes, we have to maintain ongoing training with our officers. Currently, the minimum level of training is 2 deployments every single year, so every officer has to get with a taser instructor, provide a certain level of deployments, work through any case law updates, any recent cases or incidents that have occurred. I know we've had some incidents that come up in Minnesota that were an area of concern. This will allow us to expand on our training and do more training at no cost to our department. Also part of that is the training cost to send off for instructors to get certified. So we have to send them to schools. A lot of times we don't have schools here in the Permian Basin area. We've offered to host, and we have hosted some classes, but more often than not we have to travel to Fort Worth or other areas. And also items that aren't covered are damaged items. Currently all of our items, with the exception of the body-worn cameras, since we just replaced those, are out of warranty. So if we do have a damaged item, it's going to be an out-of-pocket expense to pay for that and replace it. On the right-hand side, you'll see kind of an a la carte breakdown of what a damaged item costs. Everything's a little bit more expensive when you put the word government in front of it. So our body cameras do come out to about $1,000 a piece. Tasers are about $2,000 a piece. And the dash camera system for our car is about $6,000 a piece. And those are fair market value for equivalent offerings from other companies as well. The yearly cost that we estimate is about $30,000 for cartridges, and that's something that's required for liability purposes that we continue to train our officers, and we do have to pay for those. As well as training costs about $5,000, including salary, travel, and expenses to send someone off for that. So all of that would be included in a refresh of our contract for the next 10 years. We never have to worry about those expenses again. So that's something that's a huge benefit for us, not having to have to reallocate some of those plan funds.
You say 10 years?
10 years, that's what we're proposing, is a 10-year contract. It's more of a 10-year price lock guarantee, essentially. This is something that we're paying for already, that we're heavily invested in, and it just basically saves us a lot of money by extending that contract. So just a brief overview on cost savings. So we do have some existing credits that are standing. We have $91,000, which we prepaid out of that 2018 contract for tasers. That $91,000 basically allows us to replace the exact same taser that we have. And I'll highlight here a little bit later on some of the new technology that's emerging that would be a huge benefit for us when we can de-escalate situations and have less than lethal tools. Also part of that is $872,000 that's already budgeted and appropriated for that RMS and standards rollout. That is over a period of 5 years, so we would have to extend that to 5 years, but that 5-year extension is built into the cost of this contract. So we have not paid that yet. We don't pay it until we go live. Again, we're expecting to go live April of 2023. Operating expense savings, again, over 10 years, we're saving almost $350,000 in training and cartridges. When I started doing the math, it adds up pretty quick when you extend it out quite a bit. So that's a lot of savings for us, as well as about $200,000 in damaged equipment. And those do happen. We have officers that they end up getting wet because we're doing some sort of incident, or we get damaged during a altercation or a crash or something like that, that we do have to replace them. So those do occur. It is sporadic, so it's not a definitive number, but we have replaced several items over the several years. So purchasing as a bundle, so bundling all these items, and I'll kind of look at what bundling looks like here in a second, putting them all together over the course of 10 years, both incentives provided by Axon, some of the negotiation that we've made, additional products that they're offering us. We've received about $5.1 million in savings over 10 years. And that's basically things of our credits that are existing, them saying, hey, you're existing contract holders with Axon, we'll give you a little bit off here. Again, technology on Tuesday can be a different price than technology on Thursday, so there is some variation of that as well. So in terms of talking about efficiency and our goal of being the most progressive agency in Texas, or at least West Texas, we want to bundle a lot of our software, and we want to have a single sole platform for our officers to use. It's common knowledge that we're short, and we've been short for a while, and it's something that we work with every day. We adapt our practices, we ask our officers to work harder, to give the best they can and do the best for the community. If we can equip them with the best technology and the best software to simplify that, it's going to allow us to be more efficient and more effective in policing in our community, make it safer. If I'm running a streets with 20, 25 officers when I should be at more than that, or a lot of times half of that, I need to give them the tools that work for them and not against them. That's part of this rationale as well. So you'll look on the left there, Motorola RMS is our current existing records management system. The new proposed contract would start in 2022. First cost being $65,000, and there's an increase every single year over up to 5 years is what we have currently. So you'd end at about $80,000 in 2026 yearly, and that'd be just for the RMS. We'd also be rolling in AIM. AIM is our administrative incident management. So basically it's what we use when we have complaints, commendations, or any major incidents. It allows us to track, document, and work through the discipline process or the commendation process, whatever it shakes out to be. Also, we look at the uncovered expenses or expendables, come out to about $55,000 a year that we budget with cartridges and training, as well as file on queue, that is our physical evidence management. So if an officer makes a traffic stop or recovers a stolen gun or recovers some sort of stolen property or other item pertinent to that investigation, if we can't return it to the owner, then we have to maintain and hold on to that for a period of time. So think about a narcotic search warrant. We could have dozens and dozens of pieces of evidence that we maintain. So it's really imperative for us to have a well-rounded program for that. And then DroneSense. DroneSense allows us to stream the drones. We had protests the last couple of years where we've used it for major flooding, fires, barricaded subjects, things like that where we're calling out SWAT. We're using drones very frequently to allow us to be more impactful. So that would roll that in as well. So all of these things would come down to about $142,000 savings beginning year one by rolling all these programs into one and by extending this contract. So my goal with proposing this was to find as much savings as we can and really let it sell itself because I'm not a salesperson, I promise you. Over 10 years, we can see the extended price on that as well. So kind of a breakdown in some of our deliverables that we receive, and I apologize, it's a little small. But every place that there's an X, it's basically where we're going to replace our current software. So it was important for us, for a contract that was over 10 years, to be able to plan for that growth and the replacement of goods. Currently, like we said, if things are out of warranty, that's a capital expense that we're paying to replace that item out of budget. Whereas with this 10-year contract, we maintain that warranty for an extended period of time. Therefore, if you look on line 1 up top, we have a Taser 7. Tasers are just like they're conducted electrical weapons, is what you see as a taser. We're replacing that year 1 right away, as well as at year 6. So we don't have to worry about things breaking down and having to pay for them. That replacement at no cost is built into that as well. Again, you'll see things as you kind of work your way down: batteries, docks, wall mounts, halt suits, things that are minor. They are expenses that we have to pay for if we do not maintain or extend a contract. You also see all the software is completely included, and things I talked about with ongoing expenses such as your cartridges, both training and live. The difference between training are specifically for certifying officers, live being field use. Those are all free for the entire life of the contract, so I never have to pay that again. Also our warranties as well and training on that section. So just a quick review. Current contract, again, lump sum, $2.3 million, broken down to $520,000 a year. The proposed contract would be for a duration of 10 years. There are some things built into the contract that allow us to back out of it if we choose not to use it, or if the money is not there, we can terminate that contract with no penalties. The year 1 payment would not start until we go live or we receive all of our deliverables, and that would be for $249,000. Year 2 through 5 is $630,000, and then year 6 through 10, $840,000. The reason for the pretty sizable uptick at year 6 is going to be for that refreshment of all of our equipment that's kind of built into that. So again, we're never paying for this. It's built into a yearly expense for us. Also, the uptick at year 2 would be when we go live with our RMS and a lot of our other software as well. So that's why there's a pretty heavy uptick for that. Kind of looking at inflation, if we chose a 5-year versus a 10-year contract. So this would be kind of a breakdown. You'll see in the first column there is a 10-year contract, $6.9 million. And then just to the right of that black bar is a 5-year contract now, which would replace our existing contract. And then the yearly expense from then on if we did year 6 through 10, kind of a breakdown. This is factoring in an estimated 5% inflation as things continue to increase in cost and the economy manages some inflation. So by doing a 10-year contract now, we're saving about $500,000 just off the cost or the expense of the software and the equipment as things continue to increase. There's kind of a line item breakdown. With 10%, we're saving about $1 million, just shy of $1 million if we choose to do a 10-year. More of a price lock than it is a contract, but we're maintaining those prices. So pretty hefty savings, at least just off of inflation alone. So looking at our existing contract, current programs, you'll see on the left column is what we have. We have 5 different contracts, 184 cameras, 194 licensing for evidence.com, which is used from our police officers to legal to risk to municipal court down to our clerks that manage some of our cases that are getting prepared. So literally every staff member in our department as well as outside of our department is utilizing our program. And we want to improve the efficiency of that. You'll see to the right of that we have a huge uptick up to 236 licenses that allows us to expand to other staff members, other departments, and truly become an efficient, paperless department and just streamline the process of everything. And I'll go through on the right-hand side what each of those line items are and what they look like, because I think it's important everyone knows what they're buying and what they're paying for. But you can see that we're buying pretty much everything they have to offer, and that's how much we're willing to invest in Axon, because we truly believe, and as a police officer that still works the streets, I use these stuff every single day, and I truly believe in it, and it's been a huge benefit for us. Department-wise, administratively, I think that they can speak for that as well. You know, Chief Gerke and other deputy chiefs can echo that sentiment. Again, this is just kind of a review on our fleet. We maintain our current number of dash cameras. My favorite part of all this is the Axon white glove install. They get to come out and do all of it. I don't have to do any of it, so that's my favorite part. But we basically are replacing all of our cameras. A lot of that you'll see jump in. We have license plate readers, and I'll talk about that here briefly. I know we've spoken to you guys about our flock license plate readers and the impact that that's had on our community. This would be expanding on that and just equipping every single officer to be as effective as possible. As well as the replacement for cradle points. Again, that's to access our wireless network so that we can receive and send that data. So what's included in the proposed contract? Our body-worn cameras. As we progress more and more, the state has set more restrictions or more requirements for us to maintain body cameras. We adopted those early on, and they've been a huge success and a huge benefit for us. These cameras that we currently have deployed are enhanced cameras, so they're much more higher definition. They also have a lot of smart AI or artificial intelligence. They support things like auto dictation. So as I'm in an interaction with you, sir, it would actually detect, hey, subject 1's voice, subject 2's voice, and it would dictate a report for me. So that's a huge time saving for our officers. If I'm running the streets with 14 to 16 cops on a busy night, being able to take away that extra step of having to dictate an entire report, now it's kind of doing it for me, which just excites me thinking about it. It also supports wireless offloading. We have a lot of data when we collect those videos, so it allows that offload of data as you're driving around. So no longer do I have to dock an item and leave it as I go home. I'm always going to have that tool with me, so it's always ready to work for me. So wireless offloading is huge to be able to get that data quickly. And the biggest thing too is live viewing or live streaming. Currently we don't have that functionality. We're obviously pushing towards intersection cameras and incident management cameras, which is a huge benefit for us. This is just another factor that if an officer needs help, a firearm's drawn, a taser's deployed or armed, or someone says, hey, I'm in trouble and I need help, we can actually view what's going on that body camera live. And I have a short little kind of demo so you guys can see what that looks like. And when seconds count, and sometimes officers maybe get injured or they're unable to communicate, this really takes away that factor, and it alerts everyone from dispatchers to officers so we can respond appropriately. The other part would be outfitting each of our SWAT operators with helmet-mounted cameras as opposed to body-worn cameras. Currently, they switch their comp cameras back and forth from uniforms to their SWAT ballistic protection. If you think about a SWAT team, we operate in a team setting, correct? So we have 6 to 8 guys and girls, sometimes more. So if I'm in a line, that kind of hinders the view and the clear capture of video, which is integral to our investigations and community transparency. So we take those cameras and we mount those on the helmets so that we're able to really give that true, unabridged view of what happened, specifically being that SWAT is called out for really high-risk incidents, whether it be a high-risk violent warrant service, barricaded subjects, narcotics, or at the discretion really of command staff. If they view, hey, this is too dangerous for us to do normally, let's take this, let's slow it down, let's try to get them out peacefully and use the tools that we have to handle it appropriately. So the biggest thing would be the Fleet 3 dash cameras. So the dash cameras currently don't support any of this functionality. They are now migrating to a high-definition dual-view wide and panoramic camera and license plate reader technology. So we deployed 10 license plate reader cameras. So we partnered with the Sheriff's Office and Environmental Enforcement. So we have 50 total in this area, and these are all static license plate readers. What these allow us to do is receive immediate notification of missing persons, Amber Alerts, stolen vehicles, wanted felons. It basically puts a set of eyes fixed at a point permanently, and it's a huge resource for officers. I mean, there's days where we're getting 4 to 6 stolen vehicles in a day that our officers may or may not have found based on human error or just not being in the right place at the right time. So now we have the technology working for us, and it's saying, hey, this vehicle just passed this point, and then we allow our officers to kind of converge on that and focus on the people that are victimizing others and stealing property and committing crimes. So just based on the efficacy of those license plate readers, you can see that we have 2.6 million plate reads in the last 30 days. Of those 2.6 million, 1.6 million were unique plate reads. That means it's a car that has never been read before that's driving through our city and on our roadways. And that's just 10 cameras at 10 points. That's not every roadway. So these cameras are hugely impactful for us in our ability to combat crime. We've had 206 hits, which basically a hot list again means a stolen vehicle, a missing person, an Amber Alert, something to that effect that we parse out and we say, hey, there's something going on at this point, this car crossed this point, and alerts officers immediately via text message, email, and via push notification on their computers. And this all just happens immediately. So our officers may be writing a report, not necessarily looking for things that are happening because they're trying to catch up on paperwork, and they're being notified that, hey, this stolen vehicle or this offense that just occurred, here's someone to look for. So it really brings us into the 21st century of intelligence-led policing. It also supports live streaming. So again, if we have a significant incident or something major go on, we get that live view immediately so we can see what's going on. Dispatchers can appropriately dispatch ambulances, additional officers, and start working through a response. Also, if we had a mass casualty incident, we can start watching all of these live view, which is a huge, contrary to what we did previously where there was 2 people sitting in a room with a whiteboard trying to hope and rely on communication from officers of where they're at and what's going on. We now get to get ahead of that and really take us beyond where we're at, where we imagined we were going. And again, dash cameras based upon the type of agency that we are, being that we're in a corporate municipality and we regularly engage in traffic enforcement, we are required to have dash cameras. The TASER 7, so this would be a replacement or enhancement over what we currently have. So again, just to reiterate, everything is included in this. All training, live and training cartridges are covered. Never have to pay for that again. There's a lot of enhanced technologies inside the TASER 7. It allows us to have multiple cartridges to manage an incident. It also allows us to collect those data and those firing logs every time I charge a battery. So that battery is rechargeable, I dock it in, I get to pull that information, and it syncs it with a deployment. Speaking from experience, we were doing surveillance on a murder subject. He ended up running from us. We deployed a taser on him. He made the allegation that I tased him 6 times. We were able to pull the logs and showed I only tased him 1 time to apprehend him. So it's a huge liability, huge savings for us as well as a protection for the city to show that that data is there and we have something to manage that as well. So that's something that's built in that we can rely on.
Just real quick, 6.
And I have been tased several times. It's very uncomfortable. 6 would be unbearable. Just saying. So Axon Records Management System, again, this is something we've already purchased. We're already in the process of deploying out and building. We did every single week. We have our meetings working through it. So all that money that we've put to that would be rolled into this contract as well. It would be a cost savings overall for the Premier One CAD system, about $280,000 a year. Some of that is for CAD and some of that is for Premier One. And I know we are working through some other technology solutions for CAD replacements, but right now this is only covering records management. That bundled price is about $280,000 we pay a year for that, and $6,500 for OTPS or AIM, which we talked about. So those are already in the process of being replaced. Biggest thing for a lot of Axon software being cloud-based is it's not on premises. So I don't have to rely heavily on our IT department to manage the servers, the network, and everything that goes along with it. If I have to update CAD or Premier One, they almost have to physically touch every single computer to upload that. So that's a huge burden on a lot of departments to be able to go through that. I remember times where we're pulling dozens of cars through our garage just so they can plug it in, upload it, and get it out to the next one. So we no longer have to deal with those challenges. Those would be something that is all cloud-based, and just the next time you log in, something looks a little bit different. Currently, we maintain 2 staff members that almost full-time have to really put a lot of effort into managing the system, and that's just at the police department. And I know Mike will be able to talk about it as well. A lot of IT guys as well have to jump in and frequently troubleshoot if some of these items start to fail. And we have had that where, hey, we have no CAD, we have no RMS to work with because of issues that have gone down. And then moreover, our current functionality of our system, it takes 4 people to go research something. If you come and ask me, hey, can you tell me about the crime that's going on in my district or my area, I have to go talk to several different people to get that data because it's very cumbersome and very difficult to work with. This is so intelligent that I can say, give me a few minutes, I'll have this all pulled up for you in a beautiful looking report that you can talk to your constituents about. And it also allows us to adhere to the intelligence-led policing process and give that information to our officers and say, hey, here's how we can be more impactful, here's where we need to allocate our time and efforts because here's what's going on over here, rather than just saying, well, let's go see what we can find tonight. AxonEvidence.com, it maintains the current use of that, something we've been frequently using and sharing information over the court system, risk management, legal, and municipal court. We can expand some of those licenses and more users. There's a portion of this called Redaction Assistance I'll kind of talk about, which is going to be a huge benefit for municipal court, the police department, and legal. Right now we're manually redacting everything we do, whether it be with audio, video, or some of our documents. We can intelligently use some of their software to do that for us. Again, allows us to bring additional users on, so things like a crash review board or risk management, I can seamlessly send that to them rather than having to walk a file over to them. Axon Performance, again, this allows supervisors the ability to review activations of all devices, whether that be dash cameras, body cameras, tasers, or anything in between. We can provide feedback to our officers. Hey, you're doing a really good job, or hey, there's some areas for growth and development that we can work with you on because maybe this wasn't what we were looking for. This is one of our expectation towards our community. It standardizes the process of policy reviews and random video selections for review. So our supervisors would be able to manage some of their staff members and review some of the video that they're generating or the incidents and provide that constructive or feedback for growth. The Redaction Assistant, this isn't something we currently utilize, but it would be added to ours. Basically, it allows us to automatically redact items. I can't quantify how long our attorneys spend redacting things. I know we have staff members dedicated to that. If anyone's paid attorney fees, they charge by every 6 minutes or every 15 minutes. So I'm sure it would add up quite a bit when you look at generating 8 to 10 body cameras or dash cameras from one incident and having to redact every single one of those so that we can disclose that. This basically, I go in and I say, hey, I want to redact every computer screen, every cell phone, and I can identify certain faces and say I want to redact these faces if it's a juvenile or a victim or something like that, and it does it for us. So it goes from a manual process of watching frame by frame to now I just get to do a quality check to make sure this was done correctly, and I get to save that countless hours and minutes redacting videos for all the public information requests that it receive. So Axon Respond, kind of talking about live viewing of body cameras and dash cameras. Anytime there's a firearm drawn or a taser deployed or armed, meaning I pull it out, turn it on, and point at you, we can send notifications to officers or supervisors and saying, hey, something's going on over here. Here's the time to start responding to them, see if they need help or see if there's something legitimate. So just a brief little demo for you guys so you can see what it looks like. An application based, a push notification comes out to the officers or supervisors, says something's going on, and they can actually physically watch what's going on in that incident without even being there. So we can dispatch more officers, dispatch ambulances. If this is something, maybe a crash occurred, we can get those resources going in a very timely manner and make sure we're impactful with our response. There are some protections kind of built into this, so we can't just live stream video all the time. It will notify officers when it's being streamed, so you can kind of protect some instances of privacy. The biggest thing it really comes down to is seconds matter. I've been involved in instances of fights and critical incidents. There's sometimes where you can only communicate a very brief amount, or you can't communicate at all. And so being able to communicate with the whole story and actually a video picture to our dispatchers or other officers really lets them know, hey, I need to get there, I need to help them out. Because right now it's all based on a human element. How much can they communicate? Can they communicate? And what did they tell me? It's going to dictate our response to things. Axon Air. Axon Air actually bought out DroneSense, so there'd be consolidation down that. We negotiated in 4 drones within our contract. So currently we have 1 drone that's starting to get a little aged, but we use it constantly. Whether it be protests, floodings, I know we've helped out the fire department on a couple fires, fatal crash reconstruction, barricaded subjects, flooding, downtown events or festivals. We've used it for anything and everything, not just for sole police department purposes. So now I get to include in this is the training for up to additional 10 operators, so I can deploy those additional users throughout my department. Patrol shifts in my criminal investigation division, so we have a drone available or usable 24 hours a day, and we can really get the impact of that use, which is a huge jump for us. Currently we have 2 operators, and they are used all the time. I think sometimes you can see the bags under their eyes when they get called out, like, thanks for being here. But they're just that much of an impact and a benefit to us, so we'd like to expand that and really get that benefit. Also, part of this as well as warranties are included in this. We did have a drone get damaged. It's about a $30,000 drone. They're pretty expensive with FLIR cameras, thermal imaging, some other instruments on it. With our warranties, it cost us $250 to replace. So that's also built into this. That's a huge savings for us, not having to foot that bill for a brand new drone. $250 is a lot more manageable than $30,000. So Axon Citizen, currently we do have this, but it would be an expansion of this. Like August 31st when we had our shooting, we can open up a portal and say, hey, if you have any video whatsoever, here's the link, please go submit that video so we can have that for evidence. Currently right now I'd have to say it's Axon 1-to-1, so I can text you a link or email you a link, and you can provide me with that info. That would still be maintained and utilized when we go to calls or we're interacting with citizens, but this allows us to have a little bit more of a widespread collection when we have a significant incidents. So whether it be a football game or a downtown festival or something goes on, we need to have some sort of video. We can say, hey, instead of having to send an officer to each individual person, hey, just go and drop that video in there and we'll work through it. It can be submitted anonymously or with information for feedback or callback. My90, we signed on to an agreement with Axon to be a development partner for them. It allows us to have a community engagement module, which it's something we don't have right now. We engage with individuals every single day, but we don't get feedback from them. So it's a gap that we can improve on, and we can fill that void so that we can continue to police how our community wants us to police. It allows us to have post-contact interaction surveys. It allows us to enhance our engagement and have transparency with the community as a whole. We basically can send out automated text messages or survey feedbacks after certain incidents and say, hey, how did we do? Is there something we did really good that we need to recognize that staff member or that officer? Or is there something that we need to improve on, whether it be by policy, by training, or by discipline? So it allows us to get that information that we may be missing right now. So that's a huge area for both of us. And again, it goes back to making insightful decisions and giving insightful feedback to our staff members so we can be the best. So it's kind of a quick review before I take any questions. Overall, significant cost savings with migrating to this. Again, this isn't something new. This is just basically locking in for us and paying for something we're going to have to pay for anyways. Rather than negotiating 5 years now and then coming back to the table and renegotiating 5 years again, we need to lock this in, have some savings on it, and allow our officers to utilize the tools to the best of their ability. It's a sustainable solution. It's something that we've shown over the last 8 years that we've really benefited from, that the officers trust and enjoy. I can speak to that personally. And it's gone from just a tool to something that we use every single day, and it's essential to our daily activities, and it's going to continue to grow to that, and that's what our hope and goal is. And obviously through the end of this, we want to build our community trust, and that's through engagement with the community, getting their feedback from them, having transparency, being able to share information with them, share how we're doing and where we're going, and really have efficient processing of investigations to the court, so we're not sitting on those or lagging. And then obviously our goal, over and over, you guys have helped us with every step of the way, is enhancing our technology. Working smarter, not harder. We're managing a personnel shortage, which no end in sight for that, but we can allow us to work smarter and be more impactful with the staff that we do have, rather than limiting ourselves on what we don't have. And I include the last thing because it kind of started off as a joke in the office, that we're going to the moon, because it seemed like it was something that's so unachievable or unattainable, becoming the best law enforcement agency with technology and practices. But throughout this course of the last 2 years of working on all these projects, I think it's something that we have posters up around the office now that says, hey, we're going to the moon. It seems like it's hard. It seems like there's a lot of work to it, but if they could go to the moon in the 60s, then I think we can go to the moon and be the best police department in West Texas. So that's something that we really shoot for, is being the best that we can be. So, sorry for the long presentation. Do you guys have any questions or anything that I can answer for you guys?
Council, questions, discussion, comments?
So my first thought is how the hell are we going to pay for it? But there's got to be some cost savings and some expenses to. So that's my big question. It's a big ticket item.
Yes, and I think the
And
staff.
there's lots of benefit for it, but
Can you give us a breakdown about how we're looking at the,
Yes, sir, I think they're going to do that. Can you walk us through the how this would be paid out? And you're right, it is a commitment. We're talking about a 10-year, that's new money that we're going to have to find. We've come up with some ideas and solutions. I think the first year payment we intend to pay with seizure funds, and that's something that after that, obviously, it's something we'll have to work into the budget every year.
that would be the $250
Correct.
for year one.
And if you think about when we started in 2017, 2018, going through with our contract with Axon, just for body cameras, fleet cameras, and the evidence.com, that was $2.6 million. If we were to jump into that now, without having Axon, it'd be $3.5 million. So, I mean, that's how much technology advances. And what we're talking about, that was $520,000 a year back in 2018. And we're going to have to renegotiate that in 1 year, because we're getting close to the end of our 5-year agreement. So and every agreement with them, it's like buying a new TV, but Samsung's going to come out and replace it every 2 years. That's what they do with us. We get new equipment every 2.5 years. Because I can tell you, a body camera is only good for so long. You can only take so much of a seatbelt slap in it, going on calls, fighting with somebody, getting thrown off your uniform, put back on, charging. I mean, they only last so long. And the same way with your in-car cameras, the vibrations of the roads, all the wires and stuff, they deteriorate over time. So they replace the equipment every 2.5 years. So that's what, really, you're talking about what the next 10 years of not having to go back to the table to renegotiate what new equipment's going to cost. Because it's gone up $900,000 in 4 years. And so all of these costs that we're talking about, savings, is stuff that we've already paid as well on an ongoing thing. It's just we use seizure funds and everything back in 2018. In 2023, we're going to have to do this again, and then 2027, and just so forth, continuing. It's never-ending technology. But this is everything. This encompasses our internal investigations, our report management system, our drones, which I think y'all have all seen the advantages of that, how we engage our community. I can tell you we have revolutionized how courts are getting their information in. We were the first agency with evidence.com. Now they're using it all across the board with Ector County SO. I'm not sure the school district's on board, but they prefer it because it's such a secure way of us sending our evidence over. I mean, we really are setting a footprint in this area. But all these things, they do have a cost, and I do understand.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what we want to be comfortable with is that we want to get caught with an unknown cost and how much it will impact the general fund. I know that you've, at one point, you talked about seizure funds, you talked about grants, things of that nature. I mean, seizure funds, you know, it's unpredictable.
Right, and we're not a for-profit department, you know. It's opportunity when we find illegal funds that people don't need to maintain. It's not like that's our sole purpose.
Yeah.
So the current contract, Ian, we spend how much on an annual basis today?
So currently on the existing contract, it was all lump sum, but if we pay us $520,000 a year, if we broke that out.
Just for the cameras.
And that was in 2018. So if we extended $3.53 million just for the cameras, tasers, and dash cameras, nothing else, break that down yearly over 5 years, you're looking at a little over $620,000, I think, a year. And with that, we're getting so much more, as you can see, year 2 through 5 at $630. I mean, literally everything they have to offer, just by that breakdown in expense.
So you're already spending $600,000, that's what you're saying?
Pretty much.
That's pretty much where you're going.
It was a lump sum
Yeah,
payment,
sure.
But just because we had extra funds in it.
Yeah.
If you annualize that, it's 520, but it was a one-time payment.
Right, I understand. What I get is, usually when you have that with technology, I mean, I'm an old guy, so I remember when technology wasn't here.
Yes, sir.
When you get technology to come in, you know, when computers came in, I wasn't going to do computers, but first time I saw what did it online would do versus what my mail costs were. Mail costs paid for computers and software and everything. I mean, there was a direct offset. And so it was huge. And so that's just why I just feel like there's got to be something somewhere. So you've helped me answer that question.
Absolutely.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So it looks like year 6, that's when all the software and the user license and agreements are up. So obviously that's negotiated in, but what made us decide year 6 was when the software and the updates and the license and the agreements would be due?
So the expense for that really is the go live and the replacement of year 6. So some of that starts, obviously there's a rollout time for it. So we purchased RMS last year and we received about an 18-month to 24-month rollout for that. So there is a period of time that we're not paying for it because that's Axon's things. We're not going to charge you until you have it. So we haven't paid for the RMS yet because it's still being built. I think that's just their standard set of practice of, hey, year 6 is about when we need to start refreshing things. They would probably accept any form of payment or a breakdown of payment. So if we want to front load or back load things, that's kind of what we've done before, we've talked to them about. I know when we were discussing it previously, we could look at different ways of paying for it if that's was decided. And we can pay a higher lump sum up front to lower our payments yearly from year 2 on or so forth. So that's an option. Why they chose year 6, I can't specifically say. I do know that's when they replaced the dash cameras, the body cameras, the tasers, so that is a little bit of the uptick.
Okay, thank you. I'm
Yes,
just
ma'am.
curious.
I have a question, and Chief, probably you can answer it a little bit better. I'm not saying draining the seizure funds, but how much would you guess could be paid out of seizure money each year?
I would say seizures and donations. I would say at least 100,000. I don't know. I would hate to throw a number out on seizures because, like I say, I really stress seizures are getting a bad name across the country, and we're not a for-profit department. And I know a lot of departments they'll go hang out on the interstate and do nothing but try to catch that big seizure. Ours really are by chance because that's what it should be. You know, we're more interested in the crime itself than the money. So to prepare for something like that over 10 years, I mean, I would feel like throwing any number out there would kind of...
I understand. I think this is,
Yeah.
I think this is an excellent program.
Well, everything
And I want
that
us to
we've...
find the money.
Everything that we've sat down and showed y'all that we're trying in the Odessa Police Department, you know, cutting down crime, this is a supporting factor of that. It's and Ian can say it started as a joke. It started as a mantra, go to the moon. When we started this RMS, because everything we threw at them, they were not only able to achieve it, but surpass what we were thought our capabilities were. Because we've had this on-site RMS with Premier One, and I know Mike Parrish can talk about what a pain Premier One has been, but that system crashes all the time. And then you go to reports. I mean, to think that your entire report management system could be on a cloud-based platform that you could access it anywhere in the city and have free access to it is unheard of. But no, we have to pay up to 4 different people to run the reports so it doesn't crash the system. And you have to take data out and put it in a completely different other system for us to even get the intel that we're looking for. This is truly going to the moon, and I understand. I see the figures. It's scary, but you look at what we pay on a regular basis with our technology, and it's in line. And it's also in line as what the increases have been over the years.
One of the strategies that council could employ, because again, there's no question this will grow the police department's budget. But Cindy and I talked about one strategy might be to utilize supplemental dollars to kind of front end some of the payment. We obviously, because of COVID and other things, we didn't see the level of supplemental money available that we've seen in previous years. But in previous years, we've had as high as 12 million or so in excess beyond budget. So the council could specifically target those dollars to help support support this program.
Like I said, I think this is an excellent program, and it protects our officers, it protects our citizens. It just streamlines every function that you do.
Well, 5 years ago, you would have thought this was sci-fi. You know, you could actually get alert and live view on a cell phone and actually see what's going on. But I mean, it's there.
To put it in perspective, we were doing paper reports just as I came here. So we've gone from paper reports to digital reports. It's amazing.
We're doing that particularly. We're doing it for everything.
Everything.
Let me ask you a question, Michael. When you're talking about the supplemental, you're talking about reimbursements.
So typically, Mayor, every year we establish a budget, the council establishes a budget. If we generate more than that, that's money in excess of budget. And on many years, and last year was different obviously because we saw a big decline in sales tax in other areas. But typically what we allow is the departments to submit supplemental requests. Those are things outside of budget for either that current year or the following year. And oftentimes we do have excess dollars available. And the council, obviously you're going to get requests from every department, but that might be one strategy to help offset the cost of this particular program.
My thought is with the rate that we're growing, the city's growing, and the protection of our citizens is just paramount. And, you know, again, I keep going back to it, and Nacero's coming, it's just going to grow faster. And the investment back in this kind of thing for the safety of our citizens, I don't think can be overlooked. I don't think we can there's not really a price tag you can put on that to make our citizens more comfortable and as the growth. Because you mentioned a minute ago, I saw 1 million something license plates that first time.
1.6.
I mean, I'm telling you, every day I see Florida, Oregon. It's crazy what you're seeing out there just as you drive around. And I saw this happen back in 80, when we see it, 80, but I guess the boom in 81. We saw this. It's just amazing. Every license plate was out of state. And, a lot from Mexico, of course. And so I don't think we can invest in anything any wiser than doing this. It looks like a wonderful, wonderful idea. I commend you on the presentation and the time and energy you spent on it. Obviously, it means a lot to you guys too.
I did warn you it was going to be long.
It's okay. Nothing comes easy.
It was good.
So there's two proposals. The proposals here is for a 5-year and 10-year. And you're seeing like about $1 million in difference in that. So in order for the police department to go forward, you have the consensus of what the council is thinking about when it comes, because there is a significant amount of difference in dollars and from 5 to 10. So I would like to be able to have council be clear on the direction that we want to move forward. What plan they prefer? The a la carte or the whole kick and the boom?
Can you put that slide back up there again?
So this is a 5-year versus a 10-year contract, and this is just with a 5% inflation, so you can minus the delta on that at the bottom.
Let's go to 10%.
So the 10% probably looks a little bit better.
Yeah.
Obviously, $6.9 million, that price is locked in for the 10 years, and we do have a savings of $962,000 if we lock it in for the 10 years. Proposing that we have to renew our contract next year for 5 years, it would be $3.53 million up front. However you choose to pay for that, and then year 6 on, you can see the increase out to the total 5-year later being $7.9 million. So you're looking at 7.9 plus 3.5, a little over 11 million.
I'd say 10.
I'm thinking 10 years too, because all this technology is just going to keep getting better. The AI is here to stay. And
They keep onboarding more customers,
it
and
doesn't
so
ever stop.
the desire for it's going to continue to increase.
Yeah, I'm for the 10, I think.
Art?
The 10.
Councilmember Swan?
I'm for the 10.
It's like locking in your car price now for the same price for the next 10 years. And it's going to be supported and replaced if there's any issue with it. And you're going to get a new one every 2.5 years.
So I do have a question. So if we're going to lock it in for 10 years, so every year, I mean, obviously we probably won't be here in the next 10 years. Or
I should never have to bargain this again in my career. That's
Okay.
what this would mean.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Got you, because we are committing future council to this. So I wanted to make sure every year this is something that,
That's a good point.
Because I always follow that point, you always be cautious, you're committing future councils to, which with 5% increase, it could be more later on. So, that's always something you take into mind.
How long have we had our current RMS? 7 or 8 years.
I would want to say 7 or 8 years.
7, 8 years.
No, I mean, it's a good presentation, I think. I don't think anybody disagrees that the advancement of technology, but we also understand the cost of technology. I do have more questions, but for time's sake, it really is going to be about the legal and the gathering of the data, the security of the data, it being on the cloud, how it is accessed, how it's distributed.
Everything, the cloud is going to be a CGIS approved cloud account, which is through the federal government. So there are certain regulations that they have to meet before they can use that cloud service. So it's not like a cloud service that's shared with Netflix, Amazon, and your My365 Microsoft account. It is specifically for government documents and nothing else.
So it's safe.
Yeah. There's certain things like multi-factor authentication that are built into it too.
Safe.
Right. It's true.
Okay. Any other questions? Great presentation, guys.
thank you.
Thanks, guys. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to item 4, consideration of resolution accepting donation from Chevron appropriating funds for the OFR. Chief Alvarez?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council.
I'm sorry you're sitting back there.
Well, hope everybody's doing fine. We've got 2 items for your consideration this afternoon. One is a donation from Chevron. It's to consider resolution accepting the donation from Chevron and appropriating those funds to OFR. The amount that we received from Chevron was $10,000, and so normally what we do with that is we put it in an account and then we'll use it as we need it as a department for that.
Do you want to make a donation to the PD?
I was going to ask that.
So, our brothers in blue are a little expensive.
I get some drone time. I get the drone time.
Just got to realize we went to the moon in '60 and we haven't been back yet, so. That's a different technology.
It was fake,
Any questions on?
Any questions on that? Other than if you're willing to be generous?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Move on to item 5, consider resolution accepting donations to Occidental and appropriating those funds to OFR.
Same thing here. It's a consider resolution accepting a donation from Oxy Corporation and appropriating those funds to Odessa Fire Rescue. This amount was for $20,000. We did ask specifically to receive some kind of hazmat training or technical rescue for that funding, so we'll be using it for the training division on that.
Yeah, council, any questions, comments? Anything else, Chief?
It's nice.
I'm sorry?
Anything else on that? Anything else?
No, sir, this is it. Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Very good.
We're going to move on to item 6, consider award bid for 2021-22 paving drain and CIP. Arvin, we were here, we're not even going to ask about your last name again, so.
Good
You told us
afternoon,
that 9 times, yeah.
Mayor Chancellor.
Go ahead, sir.
The bids for this project were opened on January 11, 2022, and 2 responsive bids were submitted for this project. The lowest responsive bidder was Onyx General Contractors in the amount of $350,000 $6,797. And bids are within budgeted amount for this project. The purpose of this project is to improve areas in town that have poor curb and roadway drainage. The project will include curb and gutter replacement, concrete valley, handicap access ramp, and concrete sidewalk installation. And I'll be glad to answer your questions.
Ron, you want to go over that? There you go.
Yeah, we have, as part of this project, we have 10 locations. And those are like minor drainage, I would say, nuisance areas, but over time they can get worse, and that's why we're trying to fix it. Some of them are like complaints, citizen complaints, some of them are found by our street department. And it happens because over time seal coat can generate elevation change, and in order to fix it we have to go back and put some concrete valleys and to fix those problems.
Devon, one of those is on Murphy and Dixie, or just west of Dixie. I think it's the last one. Are we still going to look at? Are we still going to look at continuing that as a road, or is that potentially to be closed?
This is actually we're closing as part of this project. It's a closure of the section.
That intersection was a dangerous intersection to begin with, so we closed it off some years ago.
Yes.
Staff has gone in there, removed the asphalt. Ultimately, what this project will do will provide sidewalk and curb along that. It'll curve around on Murphy, so that.
Yeah, we can pick up the barricades and everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All of that will be gone. Obviously, this is an area that we want to look at for future designs on it, but for now, this would fix that problem, divert the traffic from Murphy down to Standard, make it go to the intersection, and dress it up a little bit more than what it is today.
You're talking about doing something with that space in between, right? Is that what you're saying?
Ideally, yes, sir.
Yeah, I know we looked at that. Okay, just making sure I remember.
Also, on the one that is Dixie Boulevard at Walnut, I know that's been an area that has historically flooded in some of those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Will that help to relieve some of that? Or is it just going to be a, yeah, but I don't know that there's a fix for that.
The main problem here that Dixie actually flows, all that flow you see on 42nd Dixie, it flows through Walnut. It doesn't go south in Dixie. So it will fix some of those problems, but not all.
Walnut is actually the drain street. That's the gutter, right?
Yes.
When it comes down, when it passes 42nd, then it makes a left turn.
It does. That's what we're trying to fix, to put those concrete valleys to make that move easier to go to Walnut.
When will that project begin right there?
Technically, for each one is roughly $35,000 for each fix. Yeah. Just a rough number.
When do we anticipate that the project would start?
As soon as we award the bid, at least within a couple of months.
The gentleman that lives right there in that corner is a friend of mine. He started talking to me because we haven't now fixed that. So we get on that one as quickly as possible.
That whole area, though, has such a drainage problem. I don't know that this is going to necessarily fix anything.
No, it will not fix it.
It's just maybe going to help that particular intersection. Is that?
It will help the water flow through it a bit better.
Okay.
So, Yvonne, tell me about the one on Preston Oak, because I live right where that thing is. I lived there 19 years in Preston Oaks. I'm not really sure I understand that. And that's right in front of my house.
Number?
Preston Oaks Circle.
You just passed it.
You just passed it.
Top right.
I'm just curious. I don't remember seeing
I know,
anything
I
there.
want to see.
I'm thinking 19 years I'd see something.
This is the perfect example where we need to put that concrete valley to fix that problem. From the west side to the east side, to make that drainage go to the easement. There is an easement between the houses.
So you have a road spot along the curb and it's
I
just.
know what you're talking about.
This will fix, yeah. The flow comes and turns, but it cannot turn because of the seal coat build up over time.
Okay.
So we'll cut it and put a concrete valley to the right grade, and it will fix the problem.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Okay. So I didn't remember that. Okay, thanks.
you speed in front of them.
It's in my front yard.
Any, council, any questions, any comments, discussion?
That's good.
Sir, I appreciate it. Anybody, anything else? Thank you very much. Item 6. Item 7, discussion of future work sessions. Michael?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I understood from Norma that there was some discussions regarding the work session, so I wanted to put this on the agenda so the council could discuss it. I think one of the questions was how were work sessions developed, so if you would indulge me, I'll give you a little bit of context. So for many years, for many decades, the City Council had a meeting prior to the actual council meeting, and it was called the Finance Committee meeting, and that was comprised of staff and 2 council members who were appointed. There used to be an annual list of appointments to that committee. In around 2018, 2019, the council at the time wanted to be more engaged in understanding what was happening in the Finance Committee. So they began to attend the Finance Committees. The city attorney at the time indicated that presented a problem because it was no longer a committee of appointed council members. So the conversion occurred that would allow all other members to come to the council meeting and make it an open meeting. And so the name was changed from the Finance Committee to a council work session because it also allowed the council to discuss items beyond purchases and things associated with finance. But that's kind of the history of that. Again, Norma had indicated, I think she may have sent an email out to the council regarding preference, so I just wanted to put this on the table so the council could have a discussion on it.
Council, discussion?
And I think I had opened that can of worms and asked if we could just do the next 3 meetings virtual due to our uptick in COVID numbers in the community. Didn't mean to generate a whole nother reason to meet at a different time. I think the time of meeting as well. If that's a problem, we don't even have to consider the virtual meetings. I'm fine with it. But I did a breakdown.
Any further discussion?
I'm good like it is.
Good like it is.
So are we satisfied on the discussion about going virtual? I had seeked out the Natasha to speak on behalf and send out an email. So the discussion is we could go to virtual and just do the work sessions, but due to the, can you speak a little bit on that?
Yes, according to the Open Meetings Act, in order for us to go virtual, we would have to have a quorum present in the council chambers. So at least a quorum present, and then we have to have sufficient technology in order to go virtual, and that means that we would have to be able to communicate back and forth. And so those are some of the things that we would really have to look at, the standards of the DIR, that we're meeting those standards. So when we go virtual, we just want to make sure that we're able to communicate back and forth and we're meeting the guidelines of the Department of Information Resources.
And again, I think that's a lot of work on staff as well as technology and all that type stuff. I was talking 3 meetings and we're 2 meetings now. So let's keep it as it is.
And we spent all of our technology money already.
Yeah, we don't have no technology money.
We can borrow some from the police department.
Yeah. So since I brought it up, I'm happily, asking that we just stay where we are.
Michael, I have a question on creating committees. What's the authority and from my understanding, on creating committees, it relies on the mayor to create committees.
I'm going to defer that to
And that basically was the question I had asked about, not so far the genesis of how we got to work sessions, things of that nature. Maybe I knew the history of it, but my question has been is committees are formed, and so my question has been: is it through consensus, through resolutions, is through ordinances, or through the mayor's office?
Mayor, we're a home rule municipality, and so what we found in our research is the mayor has certain duties, which is in Article 55, not Article 55, but Section 55 of the city charter. And I can give you more information on this and send you a memorandum. But under that memorandum, under that article of the charter, it defines the duties of the mayor. as we are a home rule municipality, we are under the council manager form of government. And so due to that, what I read and what I researched in our charter and our code of ordinances, any committees or anything formed should be with the entire council. I couldn't find anything where we had an express authority for the mayor's office. And so I've contacted Michael, and we have not been able to meet, and we would like to meet with Norma, because I'd like to see how things have, progressed in the past. But from our research, that's what we were able to find.
And that's what I wanted to get the question, how we got to the finance committee, and then how we get, and I see the and why it evolved the way it is. But also the question is that, what was the genesis back in the 90s to 2018, 19, and how was it done? And did we follow the home rule charter? That was my question I wanted to get.
Mayor, I don't know the specific answer. I've been here since the 90s, and the Finance Committee was around. And I would say I would recall on an annual basis, the council would appoint members to the Finance Committee, much like they would the Art Committee or anything else. So my guess is it would follow the same standard.
Yeah, but I never got an answer then. And the question I asked after goes, okay, how? Was it a council decision? Was it a council vote? And that would, I don't think we ever answered it because I don't think we know. No, but I'm talking about, when we went from the finance committee in the 90s and then in 2018. And so I asked specifically, because I knew, how there was more participation, and, you had one extra member at the finance committee became a quorum, became an open meeting, and wasn't being posted.
Right.
And so my question was then is, okay, so when it evolved to the work session, was it through resolution or the ordinance? Mostly resolution, and I don't think we have the answer. That's what we're trying to get to. And that's all it is, just a clarity. That way we have that benchmark going forward.
And we can research that further. Celia did send me today that the discussion took place on January 8, 2019, but no action was taken at that meeting. So I'm thinking it was just a consensus of the council. That's all I've been able to find.
And I think it involved us, if I'm not mistaken, but it was just because of the need that we didn't just want to relegate it to count to 2 appointed members, because there's a lot of very important information that we noticed that pertains to all of us, that gives us information that we can review prior to council, gives us time to review that information, that it keeps us from spending days upon days here with staff or calling staff or visiting staff. There's some things that we could get on our own and have time to get it, and that's why we decided we all want to be involved, because it just, to me, it's that important to everybody to know what's going on.
My concern had been from the finance committee when it started, there was a period of time there for a while that the committee continued to work, and the consent agenda get growing. And when you had 5 members, and 2 of those 5 members were the ones that are in the finance committee, I think people started wondering how we're getting all the information. And so I think that's when the work session became part. The thing is, but in the end, I still want to be able to talk about, what is the correct way of forming these committees, whether it's this or any or even going in the future, because we have a home rule, we have to follow it. And when I asked then, and I said, okay, what procedure did we follow to create these committees, and are we following the home rule charter? I just want to make sure that we're following that and that we're correcting it. No question about the work sessions, existing moving forward. The question is, are we doing it within the home rule charter, and did we do that correctly? And that way we have that benchmark, we don't have that question lingering going forward.
Even though it's not a committee, the work session is basically not a.
But we still need to have that question whether, it's this committee or further committees. And I just want that question answered. And so since this was put on the agenda, I just want to be able to speak about it and ask if we can just go ahead and get that clarified when you have the opportunity to do so.
Yes, Mayor. In our Code of Ordinances, Section 171 looks at the appointment, term of office, and other conditions of boards, commissions, and committees. Mm-hmm. So we'll look at that a little further, and I'll provide you a memorandum on that. I do think it's something that we probably need to meet in the future about, because there is not just an established rule or procedure per se. But it does give some clarification on the appointment term of office and conditions of boards, commissions, and committees under the council.
I appreciate that. Any other questions in the comments? Okay. We're going to move on to item number 8. Consider approving amendment of Article 4-17 game rooms and video game ordinances. Ms. Brooks.
Mayor and City Council, we had a lot of people out last week, so we had some other members of our department doing the agenda. So Randy Brinley is actually going to present for item number 8.
Okay.
Randy's looking at you like I am.
I know, I am.
He knows he is. He's
It's my understanding from Natasha that there is interest on bringing this amendment back up before the council for discussion. And what we were looking at previously back in October was an amendment that would require certain information to be included on an application for a game room, such as a site plan and a floor plan, things of this nature. That's not required right now. We'd also have hours of operation. What we were proposing is like during the week, and these are all open for negotiation for the council to discuss right now. But what we were looking at is during the week, hours of operation 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., and then on a weekend extend that 1 hour to 12 p.m. Separation from existing game rooms, hospitals, schools, residential zoning districts, things of this nature. And what we were looking at is 1,000 feet separation, and the game rooms be allowed in the light industrial zoning districts. Right now they're allowed in retail, light commercial, heavy commercial, light industrial, and heavy industrial. So we'd still allow them to be allowed use in the city, and they're fairly large area of industrial zoning in the city. So it's not like we'd be outlawing a game room. Dan, what am I? Oh, we'd still.
The grandfather.
Yeah, and then we would have. Yeah, he's not talking about my grandfather.
No, not your grandfather.
Yeah. And then be a situation where game rooms that are in existence on a certain date, and it'd be to be determined, as long as they are in existence and keep their permit up to date, don't have it revoked or anything, they can be in
Current
existence. And then, but if they allow the permit to lapse, if the permit is revoked, or for any reason like that, that it does go out, then any application to come back in would be considered a new application, and you have to meet the conditions of the ordinance. This has been enacted in other cities, and I think it's withstood, and I think that's a very good way to regulate game rooms within a city. So it's not like we would be setting a precedent. This has been done in other cities. So then we'd have the same parking standard for game rooms right now. It'd be 30 spaces plus an additional space for every 100 square feet above 2,000 square feet, and then add the definition and all of that, just the administrative type part to code of ordinances and our zoning ordinance. So that's what we're looking at.
Randy, did I read it correctly that if a business sells to another person, then they have to apply for a new application and they would fall into the new regulations? Is that correct? Good.
So, Natasha, what we were talking about, we got that agreement from Victoria County that was, everybody acknowledged was, I think you did, and I think the county even acknowledged that it was really, really a good ordinance, so that we could dovetail into some of their more restrictive features. Does the county even come back to you on it at all?
Well, I haven't visited with the county regarding that specific ordinance. I've shared it with them, but we haven't visited regarding it yet.
Did they reach back out to you?
They did reach back out as far as us setting a meeting, and we have not been able to set a meeting date. But the county we have a lot more restrictions imposed upon the city, but the county they could order more restrictions with regard to game rooms, and that's why we suggested maybe looking at an interlocal agreement with the county.
But it needs to, I'm just saying, we need to move forward. I mean, it needs to move forward. What's really concerning me is, the public obviously has wind of this because they're popping up. I mean, you drive down 8th Street now, and there's these old used car lots. It's game room, game room, game room, game room.
Councilman Thompson, since that,
That's what I was going to ask. Since
Yeah.
October, how many have opened?
I couldn't tell you on the city, but I can tell you on 8th Street, there's been 5.
Yeah, I know. I drive
That's
by
just on 8th
since,
Street.
Since October.
Yes, since October.
we gotta shut it down.
So this item actually arose in October.
Yes, sir.
The judge had clarified it when I asked to be on the agenda that she had instructed Commissioner Mike Gardner to speak with the city, and we spoke, and it started in July. And I indicated my intentions of wanting to talk to the council and place it on the item and have a discussion on the council, do the work sessions in the council in finding a way for us what we can do. And so it was then when legal team started researching. Councilman Thompson actually found some great research down in Victoria, Texas. Presented that to the legal team and looked at it. So then I think it was when we did the groundbreaking and the opening of the new OPD, we wind up sending all the information over to the county, and we give it to a new county attorney. It was at that time that I asked, let's put a meeting together and let's get this done by December. Our legal team's done all the research. I'd like to see a meeting on the county agenda. We can go and discuss it and fine tune it. There's really, all the work is done. Went forward, asked for a meeting afterwards, and so it was indicated that, really just, there hasn't been a lot of communication. Now, I don't know what timing or what they're discussing within the county commissions. I know there hasn't been any stuff with me, and so I think they played some phone tag with our legal team. Natasha did reach out back again right after that meeting. They did reach out saying we need to get that together, and then that basically has been the stalemate. I did reach out to a friend of mine that would be able to speak to my representative. I spoke to my representative on the commissioners court.
Yes.
I did extensively give out the information. They said they had not received it. I went ahead and laid it all out. I didn't get a response. I asked a friend to reach out to their county commission. And to my surprise, I was told secondhand that he was unaware of any of the information we had sent over. At that time, I just made a decision, and I did speak to Councilman Thompson, and I said, hey, I'm wanting to revisit this. Councilman Thompson has done some work on this with Victoria, and so I reached out and I asked Michael, I wanted to put this back on the agenda for discussion. The discussion is that we are more restrictive than the county, and I think it was we wanted to be able to find an interlocal agreement with the county, because the reason is that the city of Odessa resides within the county of Ector. We are Ector County residents. Are we really? As far as I remember, I know that we're in Ector County. The county was here before the city.
I love Texas.
And so, and the thing is that in my personal opinion, I think it's a very easy fix. I don't think that we need to go as elaborate as creating these task forces and these huge meetings. I think it's simply that we wind up taking this ordinance and we have a 300-foot separation. We just scratch out with a red pen like you did in second grade when you misspelled a word and you put in 1,000-foot.
Yes, sir.
I think it's that simple. I know that the community, and I think everybody here can agree, that the community is not saying to outlaw, and we don't possess that ability to outlaw.
Right.
What the community, and I've heard overwhelmingly, is that we're being overrun and it's gotten ridiculous, and they want that scale back.
Right.
Whether we move to create new an ordinance that changes, whether it's separation, the hours of operation, private clubs, mechanical locking mechanisms, barriers, tinting, required floor plans, site plans, things of that nature. We're not creating something new. There's been extensive research, and so irregardless, the thing is that what you're going to wind up here, we're all going to hear is that we're going to get sued. We get sued for a lot of things. But the thing is that the community wants action. And I feel that, I know this council, I have this sense that the council has wanted to move forward. This is why I wanted to bring it back. I want to make sure that everybody knows what we're facing. And this is why I'm going to ask Natasha in this portion. These are not hypotheticals, they're realities. This is possibly what will happen. I want everybody to understand what we could be facing. And so, but for me, my personal standpoint, not doing this, all we're going to see is an increase, and it's not going to stop. And it's going to get to a boiling point that it's putting a strain on resources for OPD. We've gotten the statistics of what's going on as far as how it's affecting our police department. Sheriff Griffiths actually spoke at the Commissioner's Court where he said that he doesn't have the resources to be able to address the criminality that's going on in these facilities. And so we know everybody knows it's a problem. But I think it's very important for transparency is that Natasha also has said, Mayor, there's a red flag. I said, completely understand. And I would want you to speak on that. That way we have a complete understanding, and so does the public.
I think Dan has all that paperwork with him.
Mayor, I can assure you that we will probably be sued over this, but that's nothing new for us.
Dan, speaking to the microphone.
Mayor, I can assure you that we probably will be sued. The city will be sued over this, but again, that's nothing new for us. The Fort Worth case is still up in the air. It was sent back to the Second Court of Appeals. Still nothing has been done on it. As far as I can tell, they're doing a little research on it. We're going into ground that has been covered by several across the state of Texas. And so, it's the council's prerogative to do as it wishes.
There is an occupational code, and I don't know if Dan has the exact site with him. We are limited to the 300 feet, and I think that's where a lot of the question was when we wanted to change it to the 1,000 feet. And that's one of the things that also came up in the Fort Worth case that is still now in litigation. So those are things that the council would really want to consider. And do you have that?
Natasha, I'm sorry, the Fort Worth cases, so Fort Worth did it as a city, not in conjunction with the county?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
And just to clarify, for the Victoria, it's with the county.
Yeah,
they didn't have the interlocal or anything with the city. The interlocal that we found is with McLennan County.
McLennan County, yeah.
So if we were to enter in a local agreement with the county to make these changes with the 1,000 feet, would that protect?
They are authorized. The county is enforceable. Yes, it would be enforceable and authorized.
Yeah. Right.
And that would eliminate the possibility of being sued for any of this.
I don't know if it would eliminate the possibility of being sued. I would never say that, but entering into an interlocal with the county would probably benefit Odessa better than just doing it alone.
Gotcha.
It'd be a county ordinance.
Right.
That the city of Odessa would
enforce.
Right.
Because the city resides within the county.
Because the one that started this, the mayor and I both looked at this one over here on Dixie. It's within, I promise you, I don't know for sure, but it's not much more than 1,500 feet from that school over there.
Right.
That bothers me.
Well, the thing is,
Kids are walking by there,
it's butted up against the neighborhood.
When it's put up against a garage.
Yeah, and then across the alley, my uncle lives there.
Okay.
And so,
Is his camera?
and then right across the street, the gentleman was here from Odessa Muffin.
Right.
And so, and he was here, and so he's already having a lot of issues, and because they're having And having that game with is just going to really emphasize what's going on with, and so, and you're constantly hearing from community members, you know, it's, and the constant, just the visual of it is people just saying, what can we do? I said, well, give us time, we're looking into it. And
So what if we do this? So what if we do this? What if we go ahead and pass something, and by this work session, tell the county we're ready to move. We're going to move. If you want to join us. But we know our risks. We're going to take them. We think it's better with an interlocal agreement. But if you guys don't want to do that because it's stalled, and we need to do something. It's gone on since October, and that's long enough. And so we're going to move. And if we appreciate y'all that, you know, if you want an interlocal agreement, we'll do whatever. But I'm just saying, we can maybe you can send a letter over to Judge Hayes, respectfully requesting that they adopt, stringent ordinances that they can, and we'd love to join that with them if they'll get that done. In the meantime, we can do what we can do and run our own risk.
The city alone, we're restricted, we can't supersede the 300 feet separation.
Yes.
The county of Ector County, in their ordinance, currently has a 300-foot
Yes,
separation.
they do.
Hours of operation. What is the leeway there?
I don't have all of the guidelines in front of me. I apologize for that.
That's quite right. So let's do this. The reason is that, and I consider a letter putting our intent is to want to adopt a 1,000-foot separation. In what we propose is separation. Even though we know that we cannot supersede the 300-foot, the county can amend their ordinance to reflect that wish or that desire or that goal.
We go to 1,500.
Well, I prefer 1,500.
Yeah,
I would negotiate 1,000.
Right.
The hours operation from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. weekly. We're talking Monday through Friday. Is that what we're talking in a week, or are we talking Sunday through Thursday?
The weekend would be like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, so 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. Friday, Saturday,
Yes.
Sunday. Also, we would be addressing automatic locking mechanisms, obstructions of windows, site plan, floor plan, things that what we've already have and put together. So that would be the intention. We could send that. We can have the consensus, send our intentions of what we are seeking and looking and wanting to do, and then send that to the county attorney and the county judge, and that we are seeking to look going forward. We would want to do it in conjunction with the county, but we are willing to go with it alone. And so, with that, I mean, we'll fine tune the language, and then we will bring it back up.
Mayor, I think it's imperative that we emphasize that we are not discriminating against game rooms that are operating legally. That's not what our goal is.
So we're not angry. The thing is that what is operating right now, if we were to adopt or not adopt, whether it's citywide or countywide, would be grandfathered automatically. So that means if you're operating right now, and when this is, if this were to become a fruition, if this were to happen and it were to be passed, and whether it be within the city or the county, what is operating when that becomes an effect, an ordinance, anything beyond that date backboard continues to operate as is. And it's like Randy said, you have to be able to maintain your permit. If you wind up losing your permit and you have to rescind, and that permit is rescinded, then they're subject to the new restrictions.
I think that's imperative, Mayor, that we have that in there.
Well,
and even with the 300-foot separation,
yes,
it's imperative that you maintain that permit.
It's the same when the city of Odessa went into regulating adult-themed businesses, and we wind up dedicating a percentage of the incorporated city into and it became a redistricting.
Yes, sir.
And so that language had to be placed there because everything that existed had to be grandfathered. And at that time, I think we had 7 or 8 facilities and a theater. And but the thing is along with that were other ordinances restricting citywide a nudity ordinance and also a lewdness ordinance. And so it was wasn't one, it was 3, but it was imperative. The thing is that you cannot ordinance out any particular business, and that's not the intent here. The intent here is that they meet the regulations right now, which they can, and they do, but we don't have site plans or floor plans. So the thing is that we're seeking through not restrictions, but it is a standard that we're trying to set for this community that this community is asking for. I know I've heard demands over and over again. It is not to be able to restrict a person to make money or to have a business, And the thing is that what we're going to wind up hearing, and it was entertaining for the reason is that I went on to Google and I started looking for ratings of game rooms. So we're having game rooms rated in 4-star, 5-star. And so some of those are pretty entertaining, and so I encourage anybody that want to see those ratings, which ones are the 4 and 5 stars, and then the 1 stars. But the thing is, they're advertised, you can see it, and so I want to be able for the council to have a good discussion, deep discussion, understanding what the city can do and can't do, and send a clear message that we hear you, we have every intention to respond. We're asking the county to join us. It would behoove this community for us to come together and do so. But the thing is, what is happening is, as of October, we've seen 5. And we're seeing, even as of December, we're still seeing openings and we're still seeing more applications. So the time has become imperative. And we just can no longer sit and wait for responses and wait for meetings and convene more and more meetings. We have to act now. And we have to be definitive whether we're going to go forward with this or not. Because community is asking. And so I would like to go ahead and continue. Would like to be able to draft a letter with the consensus of the council of our intentions of what we were seeking to adopt. Send an informal of what we are intending to adopt, and then bring it to the council approves, and use it. We will send that letter to the county judge and the county attorney, and but I would like to be able to put a date of their response.
And can we be very formative on that, saying we do not want a task force, so that doesn't keep coming up?
Yes, we can add that language. But I also like to see a date of drawn in the sand, saying, look, this is where we hope that we can see it simultaneously on your agenda, that we move forward in unison, and that we know, and after that date, we know that we're either working together or we're alone. And so I would like to see what the council's thought process is on a date.
This is the 15th of August, the 15th of March?
We're getting the 15th of February.
Or the first, I was thinking 45. You've got 2 commissioners' course meetings in February. I don't know. 30 days, not with you, March. 30 days is plenty.
Sure.
15th of March?
February.
15th of February?
Yeah, I think that's plenty. If we get them a letter first of the week. And Mayor, I would suggest, because of their lack of communication over there, what you just said, I suggest you give one to each commissioner too.
I can do that.
Yes, that'd be good.
Because you're just saying they don't even know what's going on.
Well,
There's no leadership, and somebody's got to take the lead on this, and I applaud you for doing that.
I'm only going by what, with one commissioner I spoke with, and then another that I got secondhand information. But I feel that the data is definitely correct, because it was all on one. And so, and that kind of concerned me for the reason is that I just didn't understand. We handed over a lot of information. The legal staff did a lot of work right before the meeting that we went before. I was there, and I think some of the members of the council were there. We sent information in front of that meeting at the request of the county judge's office. And so, and we sent them everything we have, and we just simply asked, will you consider these items and place this on the agenda? And it's just to the point where we just can't. We need to move forward. And so what we'll do that is we'll send a letter, and we will do it immediately. And so basically, we're saying February 15th is for us to get a response. We're going to move in unison, and we're going to come together. We're going to move it.
Yeah. What's our meeting in February? What's our second meeting in February?
That's going to be a work session. See what works.
Well, you could be on that work session. That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be more for discussion on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Work session.
So we get on the 15th?
Yeah, work session.
What day is the work session?
Tuesday, the 15th.
The 15th. Perfect. And then they'll know we're serious about doing it. It'll be on the next.
We'll get together. We'll form that letter.
Yes, sir. Mayor, I'll send out that information again to council so they can know exactly what we're sending out. And
so you'll be sending out the ordinance out of Victoria, Texas. Is that what we're talking about?
yes, we did the comparison model
Yeah.
on Victoria, so we can send that out. Yes, and we also sent that one as well to show the difference in the interlocal and then just the county. And in Victoria, I think the city is helping to enforce it, but it is not an interlocal.
Yeah. Okay. So any other questions? Good, Michael?
Natasha, in looking at the ordinance, are the terms game room establishment, video game establishment, and game room meant to be interchangeable?
When I look at the ordinance, I wouldn't add the we were asked to put in game rooms for the ordinance, but I would just keep it as titled. Dan, do you have it in front of you?
I do. And then the other question was, if we look at what we are wanting to do as a council, barring the 300-foot separation, could we do everything else?
Let us look at that and research that and get back with you. Monique is our, she's the one that has researched all of that, and she's out today. But regarding the way that the article is written, I think we just leave it as video gaming, which would include game rooms.
And then game rooms shall be considered an existing light and heavy, light industrial or heavy industrial, LIHI. Hours of operation, Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., Friday through Sunday, 8 a.m. 12 a.m. And I think that's pretty much it. We did add the automatic locking mechanisms. We'd also like to be able to address the private game rooms, membership only.
Was there something about glass, about
Tint.
yeah.
This is something that the OPD had asked about, because it prevents visual from the streets to be able to see criminal activity.
About the hours of operation, would it be better to have it Sunday to Thursday, 8 to 11? Sunday is, to me it's a weekend, but it leads into a work day.
My thought process was Monday through Thursday. Yeah, just like you said.
I like what Mark
But
said.
include Sunday on the weekdays.
Right, Sunday through
Since it leads into a weekday. I mean, it's, so have it Sunday through Thursday.
Sunday through Thursday.
Perfect.
So, Mayor, it seems as if the article and what we brought to you in October, it seems like we want to add even more additional language, and it sounds like based on Victoria's county ordinance that we would look at that to add additional information. I know that's where the window tinting came from.
Right.
That's where it came from. And then the OPD asking about the automatic locking mechanism would be key code, which is membership. It restricts a permitted business for law enforcement to go, and also the inspectors from the city. And so this is definitely an area that has to be addressed. Any additional comments? It's great.
Okay, so Dan did have it. What happened in Victoria is the city of Victoria rescinded their ordinance because the county's ordinance superseded it. So that's what happened there.
So we can do the same thing.
Right.
Put ours in place. If they adopt, then we can just
Rescind ours.
rescind ours. Perfect.
Does it
I
matter?
think the guys at American Legion for that. Guys at American Legion are the one that told me about that.
Somebody has to take the first step. And so, any comments? Discussion?
Good.
Good.
Okay, we're gonna, thank you. Randy?
Thanks, Randy.
Dan, thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
additional comments, Dan? You good?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Natasha, great work. Thank you. And we'll get together and then we'll work out that letter and send it out as soon as possible. We're moving on to item 10. Oh,
It's
sorry.
included.
Item
It's
9.
included.
Okay.
Yeah, it's included. Is that all the? Yeah, that was the same thing. All right.
Yes, it
Yeah,
was.
Mayor, item 9 is
Yeah.
conflicted with
Okay,
item
very
8,
good.
so.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to move on to item 10, recess for executive session as authorized by the Texas Government Code Section 551.071 to consult with attorneys. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilmember Thompson. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Swanner to move to executive session as authorized by the Texas Government Code Section 551.071 to consult with attorneys. We are in executive session. We will be.
Here. Yeah, Randy.
Lone survivor.
Do I have a motion to come out of executive session back in and call to order our work session? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilmember White, I have a second by Councilmember Thompson. All in favor indicating by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
All opposed indicating by saying nay. Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Seeing that we took no action in executive session, and there is no more business before this work session in the city council, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilmember Swan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember White. All in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicating by saying nay. Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. We are adjourned.